Morning everyone, it's 8 o'clock in the morning, it's Thursday the 22nd, it's Thursday the 22nd of, 22nd, and you're about to get the lesson on advocacy coming up. Now I've left it a week, okay, I've left you a gap of a week here because there are people who are considerably behind us, and also, you know, have a rest, have a reading week, do some reading yourself, get your essays in order. It was great to meet you all on last Monday, and there was 2 days last week. It was great meeting you all again. Very, very stimulating conversations, I've got to tell you. But let's get down to business. I've only got 10 minutes. We had one who's way behind us. One correspondent this week who's way behind the rest of us for some serious reasons. You know, I'm not pointing the finger at nothing like that. But not too bothered by ethical problems, this character. Well, good on you, mate. You get to sleep easy of a night. Fantastic. And seems a damn sight more concerned by legal problems than by moral problems. And this again is is part of a theme that's emerged during this whole thing, that the legal problems and the professional problems, the problems about losing your job and registration, they're the ones that really seem to bother a lot of you. And one of the things which I've hoped for from this module, actually, is to kind of shake up that cozy feeling that, you know, all we've got to worry about is the legal and professional stuff, and try and get a little bit of anxiety going about try and get a bit of moral disquiet going. And of all of the things, guess what? Of all of the legal issues that have cropped up for this correspondence, it tends to be matters relating to legal capacity again, which have caused the most sort of trouble. And in this correspondence contributions, what I've noticed is this theme again, this theme of self-protection. We feel exposed, we don't feel 100% supported. I'm going to act conservatively to manage situations that I find a bit troubling. Coming on to triage. One correspondence, well, there was a theme in the correspondence actually, which said that the only time in which conditions or patients' conditions were described as rubbish, where resources were being misused. I mean, the reason why I asked you that question is that this is always a question that you can put to A&E nurses. Just, what have you had today? Mostly rubbish, yeah. And they would say, presumably they would say the same thing. But the problem I have with that sort of talk is that it extends as far as intensive care. You know, I remember seeing this person once, and this fellow had gone on a ventilator. This fellow was an extremis. He was on a ventilator, and the ward round came round, and I was standing behind the senior consultant. And when his medical history was read out, and it was said that this patient had a long history of COPD, I watched as the consultant's shoulders just sank in disappointment. Oh no! No, but that consultant might have said the same thing, I suppose, but I don't know. It's not me that deals with this. You know, you've got a good point there. It's not me that deals with this person who rings an ambulance because they're constipated. You know what I mean? So, shut up, Chris. Shut up with the judgment. Yeah, okay, fair enough. That is a decent point. But I wonder what the public would say if they knew that they were being triaged in this sort of way. You know, again from the same correspondent, lady correspondent. What I got from your contribution there was that there is a degree of triage that goes on at the scene, particularly of a major sort of incident, but it's thin. It's a thin veneer of triage, and then after that, you're having to make up decisions with very little in the way of support. And I'm not saying that there should be support, or even that there could be support, But it seemed to me from your replies that what you were saying was that you can't put your hand on a lot of very precise guidelines or protocol, that beyond a certain point you are kind of making your mind up as you go along. Now, another correspondent made a great point, made a really good point, and he said that regardless of who goes in the ambulance first, actually, if there's a number of ambulances that show out to a big incident, no one's being left without treatment. You know, the person might go in the ambulance first who can best use that ambulance, but nobody's being just left on their own to struggle on. You know, everybody's getting something in a way. You know, but you are allocating the best resources for the most suitable cases. Excellent point, and not one that I'd considered, to be honest with you. Another correspondent said that he had on occasions been economical with the truth, brackets, lied. Well, economical with the truth isn't really lying, is it? You know, and you make the point that you told white lies. Well, I'm not even sure what a white lie is, to be honest with you. I'm not really, you know, you've used an expression there. I recognise it from social life, obviously. But in terms of moral reasoning, I don't think there's any distinction between white and other colour lies. But, you know, you said that you tell white lies, and that might be a way of encouraging the patient to take treatment from you, whereas their realistic choice is they're going to take treatment from the police in the back of the van if they're not careful. And, you know, to say to someone at the scene of an incident, a big punch-up, let's say, if you don't get in the ambulance, I think the police will arrest you. That might encourage them to get in, even if you don't think it's true. It might be true, yeah? But if you say, they will arrest you, I've just been talking to them, then that's a lie. That certainly is a lie. If you say they might, well, they might not. But if you say they will, then that actually heads into deliberate deception territory. Is there a distinction? Does it matter? If they get in the ambulance, job done, utilitarian, straight payoff. Another great point that the same correspondent made was that whistleblowing. He defined whistleblowing, and I think this adds a really interesting layer to the whole debate. He said that whistleblowing was the act of putting on paper things which might otherwise be dealt with on a sort of informal face-to-face basis. That's interesting. Something which could be dealt with at a sort of low level, now that it's gone on paper, takes on a life of its own, and, you know, that's the whistleblowing element. Never thought of that before, but and that right into the papers, right into the MP. It's got, you know, leaving a paper trail of evidence. Refusal to take, absolutely. Nobody said that they'd ever refused a person to come and take, but what I want you to consider is this in the minute and a half that I've got left. Maybe you don't refuse to take. Or maybe you take people who perfectly obvious to you should not have called an ambulance in the first place. But consider this. Maybe the motivation for your employers putting you on a course like this and insisting that moral reasoning was one of the core elements of a course like this. Maybe there's the motivation in your employers or your education department is to get you to the point with moral reasoning that you feel confident. You feel confident enough to say, sorry love, that's not serious enough for an ambulance. Go the limp-in centre. Sorry, I'm not taking you with a dose of constipation. You can deal with this on your own. Maybe it's to get that level of autonomous thinking in you. Is precisely what they're after. Now that's going to give you some discomfort. I'm away to do another lesson today at Liverpool University, and this one should be a cracker.